Hey, what's up? It's Paul with PM Designs. And basically this review is going to have to be kind of weird because I don't have any kind of screen capturing software. So here's the laptop, here's the camera, and here's my new lens I picked up the other day. This is the Canon 85 1.8. There you go, Canon. And I also right now still have my 25mm extension tube on there. And yes, I know in one of my other videos there's some comments talking about that you could have bought the some of the other brand extension tubes for a little cheaper, but that's not what I wanted to do. So I have the Canon extension tube, Canon lens, Canon body. I know you're probably wondering what this is, but I'll mention that when I get to that point. This is obviously the 85mm 1.8. Go ahead and take it off the body here. You can see just how much light's able to go through that lens. On the front, you might be able to hear the dogs barking, is a rubber collapsible lens hood. When I went and picked up this lens, I asked if I can get a lens hood with it, and this is what they carried. And I'm gonna do a separate review, but it basically screws on where the filter thread screws on with a little plastic mount inside here, and then on the inside it's threaded to where the lens cap can just pop in there and hook in. At first, when I didn't really look at it, he handed it to me and I looked at it briefly, but I thought it was just, you know, all rubber, and it was rubber screwing into those threads, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to buy one of these after I unscrew it a couple times. But it is plastic, so it will last a little bit of time. But yeah, this is the lens. You have the little screen right here, or a little window here to be able to see your focusing distance. When I was looking at getting this lens, I was looking at getting this lens and the Canon 85 1.4. The 1.4 would have allowed more light to come in. I could have gotten shallower depth of field, and it's about $100 or a little more than $100 cheaper. Might be about $200 cheaper. I don't know. They're about $255, I think, or $250 on Amazon, and then this is normally $419. So do the math. But ultimately decided on just getting the Canon model because it has autofocus, but that really wasn't my main reason. My main reason was that this, whenever I take the picture, the aperture is electronic on here, so that was my main reason I went ahead and spent the extra money to get the Canon. This has the ultrasonic focusing motor. Focuses extremely quickly. It doesn't hunt around as long as you're within the focusing range, which is 0.85 meters is your closest focus. So as long as you're a meter away, from 3 feet or so away from whatever your subject is, you'll be fine, and it'll focus quickly. And this image wasn't taken with this lens. This was actually taken with my 75 to 300 telephoto kit lens that my camera came with, and the extension tube, a macro filter, and a ring flash. But so the reason why I went with this one versus the other one is the fact that the majority of what I'm doing is photography, and instead of if you close down your aperture, when you look through the viewfinder, you're going to get less light coming through. So if I want to take something at, say, you know, f8, f16, something like that, when I would go to take it, I would have to close down my aperture before I'd take the shot or try to compose it with a dark viewfinder. So I just figured if I bought that, it really wouldn't be what I wanted, because as much as I don't mind a manual lens, the aperture part I wouldn't get as much use out of it and I just wouldn't enjoy it. So, but talking about the Rokinon lens, every review I've seen, everybody said, and in the pictures I've looked at with that lens, very good image quality. So if you don't mind that, go ahead and get it. But I wanted the electronic aperture and the electronic focus, so, and couldn't be happier. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look, pop this lens back on the camera, and I am using on a crop sensor camera, the Canon T3. So we can go ahead and look through some of the images. This one was taken with the once again, I apologize. Eventually I'm gonna get the software to be able to do the screen capture to where I can just go through this and I can just use my mouse wherever the mouse pointer ended up going. But this will have to do for now. So on this one, you may not be able to get the colors I can see on the screen on the camera and on the computer, that the colors aren't coming through correctly. But on this one, you know, you have the eyes nice and focused. And you see you have part of the mouth in focus, you know, this corner a little bit, part of the nose, and then part of the cheeks. So that was just playing around just with the macro, using just available light inside the house. And obviously you can see the wall behind is completely blown out, which the wall wasn't, but you know, 8 inches behind that. So hopefully this is going right. And this was on that same mantle. You can see the shallow depth of field. This is actually a little brass, bronze, whatever, little cattail that my grandfather had made. And this is, you know, the leaf part, whatever you want to call it, of it. And you can see right in here it's somewhat in focus. And then with the depth of field being so shallow, it just kind of goes into this nice little shadow in the background, which I really like with that shallow depth of field, it giving you that, even though it is part of it, it just kind of, it brings this as being the main subject of the photo. So, and like I said, the colors on the camera aren't picking up the colors that are actually on the screen. So, and then this one's one I really like. I was getting ready to leave and I was taking a look at the faucet out on the side of the house, and it just, you know, just the lines of the brick, which this one I do need to go in and correct that to get this, you know, get my horizons basically straight across the screen. So I'm going to correct that. But I just liked it because, you know, you have the lines of the brick going across. It's going to be a little easier to point. You know, you have the lines going across from the brick, and then you have this hose coming off of the little adapter piece coming off at a 45 or whatever, and then you have the, you know, this kind of arcing over, so it's a bunch of different little angles. And on this, you know, I kind of got to focus right up in here, so it kind of focused this whole area, and then as you go on this little wrapping, it's out of focus, and the colors came out really, really sharp. Let's see if I can't, if I increase the brightness, maybe I'll get a little better color representation. It's a little bit better. Actually, it would help if I hit the right button. No, the camera's just compensating for it. So then you have a little cherub or angel, whatever you want to call it, that was by the front of my house. And this one I just liked because, you know, it has the, you know, the red brick, and then you have the gray of the concrete and the gray of the concrete. And if I wanted to mess with this, which I may pull it into Photoshop and see if I can adjust the exposure just to get the angel to pop a little bit more from the background. I know if I would have pulled it away from it, I could have gotten more background separation, but it was more of it was there and I was getting ready to leave. It was the same with that, with the faucet. And then this is I actually went out and we have an old stretch of highway that has some different stuff, and I I was just looking for different things that had, you know, angles to them, things that kind of told a story. And this is one of the ones, you know, it's a dirty rag thrown up on a fence post. So just kind of, had someone break down and they just, you know, someone came along and helped them, or they changed a tire and they wiped the grease and dirt off their hands and just threw it up there. And, you know, what's the story behind it? So it's kind of an interesting thing. And then with the 1.8 aperture, you get the nice separation with the blurry background and everything. And this one was in that same little location. They had a little house this is actually the elevated interstate back, you know, this way in the photo behind me is the old, you know, old highway, and then you have the elevated highway up here. So it was just a house that was being built, and I just kind of thought it was just that interesting, you know, waterfront property, as you can tell the name of it up there. It was just an interesting little shot. And then this, you know, it just kind of, you know, the same thing. You get a little bit of color separation. On the computer screen, the two greens were, you know, the green up in here and the green of the actual bench or whatever this used to be. You can see the difference in that coloration. It's not doing like this and just blending all together on the camera itself. Once again, I need to get the software. This just a little rusty pipe sticking out of the ground. You know, again, you got the background separation. Just something different. Some kind of ask that question. What was it? And there you go. You can see where that was up on, you know, a sign off the side of that elevated interstate. Get the cursor out of there. I kind of like this shot. It's very, you know, the background's white, and it was actually just because the sky got really blown out. But it was an overcast day, so if I'd go back, I'd maybe try to get that same shot again, bring a tripod, and, you know, close down the aperture and get to where I can get some detail in the clouds, maybe a neutral density filter or something, to where I can get a longer exposure, but then get some of the clouds and the sky coloration in there. But I kind of like the, you know, the signs on the nice, you know, white blown out sky. So, and this is just more cattails. Once again, the color on the camera and what's on my screen is completely, the camera's not doing it justice. It came out really nice, in my opinion. I may actually set this as a wallpaper on my phone or my computer or something. And then, you know, just side's been kind of shot up a little bit. On this one, once again, on the computer you can see, but you have the separation from the background. So it emphasizes what you should be looking at. And this was just, you know, the elevated highway again. I like this one because, you know, you have all the vertical columns and you have these vertical this is actually a parking lot right here that, you know, this water's risen and flooded into it. But this is kind of, you know, the edge of the parking lot, like, hey, don't park any further than this. So I just thought it was just, you know, all the vertical things and then the water and the reflection. So it's kind of an interesting shot. And then you have the curve of the interstate kind of curving off and leading your eye. So I can get the focus back out here. It'll focus when I go to the next picture. And in this one, it's just kind of a, you know, there's a little pipe coming up out of the ground with a little valve on it. Just kind of an interesting shot. I like, you know, you get that whole separation of it, and it just pops out with the rust and the galvanized piping. It's just, you know, is it a test valve? Is it a valve to, you know, modern something? Is it something that there used to be some, you know, is it hooked up to it? You know, what's the story behind it? It's kind of just that interestingness to it. And this was throwing the little macro extension tube on with the 85. You can't see it on this screen, but on here, in this water droplet right in here, you can actually see, you know, the grain of the leaf and everything, and then, you know, these over here are nice and soft and out of focus. So I just kind of, it was an interesting shot to me. And this one was actually pretty cool. When I was getting ready to leave, I had actually taken the shots of the interstate, the shot of that pipe. And when I was taking the picture of the interstate with the water and everything below it, I started thinking, oh wait, I need to go back and get those water droplets. So I snapped on the extension tube when I got them, and then I came back to the car, and this is sitting on the roof of the car on my little on the vinyl stripes that are on it, the racing stripes, rally stripes, whatever you call them. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, so I fired off some shots, and that was my favorite one. Same thing here, just another little pipe. You know, it's kind of, I don't know if you can see, but it's leaking. It's letting out water or whatever, because I know that this pipe right here is a water main for the parish. So then here you have, you know, the new water main, the old water main, and then the old highway, which I'm actually standing on. The new one's the elevated. The one on the ground is the most recent, is the one before the elevated, and this is before the blacktop highway. It's kind of a, you know, you get three different highways, and this one's pretty much just the parts that are still good are just kind of a little path in the woods kind of deal. It's very, you can get back there in some spots you really can't. I wanted to try, you know, play around, you know, taking a picture of some of the signs stuff. You know, this one was kind of interesting, the bullet holes in it, and you get the little bit of the road in the background and the trees, and I just figured I'd do something a little black and white, make it look a little rustic kind of. And then this was you get a bunch of signs, and I called this no signs everywhere, because, you know, no littering, no motorized vehicles, no firearms, no hunting. And it's kind of, the signs kind of, I was trying to get them to kind of separate off the background, which to me, you know, on this screen you can actually see where there's that separation, and it's just something kind of interesting. I didn't get a chance to actually go back there, because it was just, I don't know if you can tell in the picture really. I mean, I could tell on this screen, and I can tell because I was out there, but it was just really muddy back there. You know, going even up to this point, it was muddy, so I didn't have the right shoes. I'm like, I'm not going. And this was getting back to the house. Took a little before I went inside. Saw they had some little flowers, so I was like, yeah, I'll take a picture of that. So that's everything with the new Canon 85 1.8 EF lens. Really good color, really sharp focusing, quick. All in all, I had the 42.8 lens. And what made me go with this one was because, you know, I bought the 40 because I couldn't get the 50 because it wasn't in stock, and I didn't feel like ordering it when I got it. Plus, if it, on a crop sensor, a 40 is actually be closer to 50 than a 50 would be on a. And, you know, at the time when I bought it, everybody's like, "Oh, you need a 50. That's the, you know, the nifty 50." So I decided, and the 40 is a good, you know, walk around lens and stuff, and it's lightweight. I actually, you know, like a lot of people say, throw it on the camera and use it as a body cap. But I really like the 85. If you have the cash and you can get the Canon one, I highly recommend it. If you can't afford that kind of lens, if you can't afford the Canon lens, and you're okay with, you know, manually adjusting your aperture, manually adjusting your focus, then go ahead and get the Rokinon. So I know this video is a little bit longer than I really wanted it to be, but this way I covered, you know, kind of showed off the lens and its abilities and what kind of shots, various little things. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions about this lens, if you have any comments about this lens, other Canon lenses, whatever, put them in the comments section. Hit the like button and please subscribe. Thanks for watching.